Does God actually care what you do? I've been struggling with this question for a few months now. Does God actually guide you through your life and gives you hints about what you should actually do? Or is it just a confirmation bias that we see everywhere because something works out well? So let me tell you a story of how this question actually started. I'm finishing my master's, so I should actually think about my job, and my dad is a mentor for some startups, so I take his ideas very seriously. Until one day we were driving down to another city, and out of nowhere, after a pretty okay conversation about concerts, he was just like, with his poker face, "Patrick, do you want to build bathrooms?" And I'm like, "What?" And then he explained, like, with my personality type and everything, he thinks that it would be a good match for what I should actually do. I should do something practical, I have very good visual feeling, and he thinks that's something that could fulfill me. And as we discussed it further, I was like, yeah, but I have a lot of projects that I want to keep working on, it's just they aren't working out for some reason. Like I did short films, I have 2 channels, I have my own board game, and nothing seems to be working out well enough. So I'm like, maybe God doesn't want me there. And my dad was like, God doesn't care where you are. He's with you, like, wherever you go in your heart, and he, like, wants to share his love through you wherever you go, and, like, he will be with you. But, like, you shouldn't wait for his approval. So since then, for 2 months, I've been researching this question in the Bible, in papers, in world examples. Does God actually control your life? Or is it just a confirmation bias we see in his works? So here's an even more specific example. I applied for 7 universities before I got rejected by each one, but not by anything I could have influenced. It wasn't that I didn't do anything, it wasn't that I wasn't good enough, it was, well, Slovak universities, that's for another story. But basically those things didn't work out at all. I ended up in the 7th one, and it was the best thing that could have happened. Like, right now I'm studying mass media and communication, and I found myself in it really well. So, was it God's plan that I got rejected by those universities and now I'm not a director, I'm not a film producer, I'm not anything that I actually wanted to be, but I'm still happy, and maybe even happier that I would have been on those schools from classmates that actually got accepted, and yeah, well. So was it God's will that he wanted me here, or is it just confirmation bias that I was like, oh yeah, that was God's plan? And I would like to comfort you that God does watch over you. It's a bit more complicated. So I brought this up in a deep sharing group that we have, where the leader is Borko from Capucini Monastery, and there's a neuroscientist, a psychologist, a statist, a bioengineer, and a communication major. Well, that's me. Yeah, we're quite a group. And this whole theory has been answered in one simple back question. How do you know that what happened wasn't the devil instead? Let me bring you a more specific story. Let's say you have the opportunity to go for a work and travel program to America, and it all seems just kind of suspicious, like the money they want for you to apply, the stories that people share, people working 60 hours per week, and it's all just a little off. So you text your old friend who actually lives in America and he works at a church, and you're like, hey, do you want maybe help? I can come over to America for a few months and I can work for free, because you basically end up with a 0, or like you gain only a little bit when you come back from work and travel anyway. But he doesn't text you back, so you're like, okay, so I should probably start applying for the work and travel.
You're fired!
So on the last day that you're like, okay, if he doesn't reply today, I'm applying for work and travel. That evening he texts you back with an opportunity to go share God's word in like a camp, and where you also work a bit, and it just all seems kind of perfect. But they want even more money, so like there's always advantages and disadvantages, but he texts you the last day that you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna apply for the other one. So I asked this group, wasn't this basically God's will? At the last moment it just works out? And our spiritual leader just looked at me after this story and he was like, are you sure it wasn't the devil just trying to confuse you? And like, there are decisions and external factors that can make your life a living hell, and you can be sure that that wasn't God's doing. But it is said that if we have God in our hearts, he's obviously stronger than Satan, and God will make the good works within you. Like God said, he will use all the works for the final good. But the decision you're making can't really be influenced by him. And maybe that's the thing. Satan throws challenges at us, and God works from our within to use it for the final and big good. So how are you supposed to make decisions if you shouldn't wait for any signs of God? To which we have the writing about talents. So like God gave us this internal programming where he gave us, well, talent is not a good word, but it's basically our desires and our dreams, which we should follow. Although it also said that our hearts can be deceitful. I will come back to this. So in conclusion, don't wait until God gives you a sign. Think about what you deeply want and desire from your heart. Analyze if it could lead to more good, because our hearts can be deceitful, and then make a decision. God will be with you on your adventure to see if it works out for the better good. But here's the catcher, a question for your heart. Are you actually so deeply connected with your heart and God's love in it that you feel the difference between the desire from God that he programmed into you and desire from this world? You know, if God is love, then God is always in your heart. But are you there? Have a nice evening.